All right, what is tea?
Oh, what is tea?
It's a reason to get together, it's a reason to share.
It is a social beverage, it's a healing beverage, it's an energizing beverage.
I just find there's something really comforting about it. It reminds me of home.
Tea, for me, is special because it's so rooted in history.
All of the different cultures that are surrounding each of those places are so beautiful, and tea in itself just creates that atmosphere.
Tea. Tea has been a drink of choice for people throughout the centuries. From its medicinal benefits to its cultural history, tea is a drink people always seem to flock to. But why do they love it so much?
But the lovely thing about it is to pull out your favorite cups, find your favorite blends of teas or your favorite region for tea, and share it and enjoy conversation and the ritual of tea making.
You definitely see a group of people, gather around a pot of tea and they play a game, they play chess, or they just converse and whatnot.
What we find is that we have a fair number of people who come here and have coffee, but we have a greater number of people who come here for the tea. And they try different teas, they have their favorites, but they're willing to branch out, just try different things, and it becomes a topic of conversation for people as well, for sure.
I think that tea in itself, even just having a cup of tea, creating a cup of tea, sharing a cup of tea, that in itself is social. And there is a beautiful atmosphere that is created when people share tea.
For most cultures, it's like it gathers families. You also serve tea to guests. You grab a cup of tea if you're meeting up with someone.
I personally think it's one of the easiest ways to ask someone out to, even just on a date or just out to have a conversation. Let's go have a cup of tea.
Unlike a coffee where a lot of people are drawing to stimulate themselves and they're trying to energize themselves, I think tea creates a different kind of environment and different kind of feeling to the purpose of why people come together.
Tea is becoming trendy. I think it's becoming more popular. I think you can see by the amount of tea shops, whether they're independents or in the mall. I think there's no mall anymore that doesn't have a tea shop, which I think 10 years ago would have been hard to find. And I think people are getting more interested in learning about tea and culture and trying to support teas. A lot of people are looking for specific teas that are free trade or organic.
Yeah, I think it's been trendy for quite a while. Like we opened 10 years ago in January, as a tea shop. We were known as a tea shop and we were busy right away. So it's definitely taking off more. More and more people are starting to get into it. And where you can see that it's trendy, if you look now in health magazines, they will advertise Oolong tea as the ideal weight loss tea, which is completely unfounded on anything, but somebody found that interesting and now everybody's on the bandwagon.
So whether tea is trendy or not, it is clear for many tea is the thing that brings people together with their friends and family. But on the other side, many people use tea for its powerful health and medicinal benefits. For thousands of years, many societies used tea for its powerful healing properties. But with the rise of modern medicine, the benefits of tea have been forgotten. With the resurgence of the natural health movement, many are turning back to tea.
The major health benefits come from the oxidation and the fermentation process in the tea. The polyphenols and the antioxidants are the two major contributors to cancer fighting, all kinds of health aspects.
There's these things in your body called free radicals that essentially destroy healthy cells in your body. And the antioxidants actually kind of fight and kill these free radicals to allow your cells in your body to thrive naturally.
It's got tannins that help with digestion, it helps with your skin, it helps with so many different elements of your body when you drink it.
For white and green tea, there's another thing that most people don't know. There's a unique amino acid. It's called theanine, and it only exists in white and green teas. And it's an amino acid that directly affects the brain. It increases the alpha currents, the alpha, whatever you call alpha waves in your brain, so it makes your brain work more properly.
I like the caffeine part of tea, so I don't know if that's a health benefit. It does wake you up, it does stimulate you. Tea in general is good for metabolism, so if you're looking for weight loss, tea should be a part of that program.
But with so many varieties of tea, how do we know which ones are the healthiest and which ones should we choose for our specific needs?
Green tea is the highest of all of the teas for antioxidants. It's got a ton of vitamins and minerals depending on the location and where the tea comes from. Anything regarding agriculture, you have to take into consideration the environment that it's grown in and the soil that it's grown in and what that soil is full of too. So yeah, green tea coming from different countries is going to have different health benefits and different vitamins and minerals and amino acids and all those wonderful things.
It actually has the amino acid in it, which helps balance out like the jitters and whatnot that caffeine gives you. So that kind of makes it a really good sit down and study tea.
Pu'er is probably one of the most fascinating as to the process of how it's made. Many people think that black tea is fermented. However, black tea is not fermented, it's simply oxidized. Whereas pu'er is the only varietal type of tea that is aged and fermented.
It's very good for your gut flora, which we suffer from, right? Because we don't have healthy digestion, most people anymore. So that's the main benefit of that.
A lot of people also drink pu'er teas for hangovers, as a kind of cleansing tea, and it has been said to be good for blood pressure as well.
White tea, because it is the least processed of all of the teas, the Camellia sinensis tea, that tea is going to have and contain all of its raw natural ingredients and health benefits. So it is the highest in antioxidants. It is also the highest in caffeine, but what a lot of people kind of miss out when it comes to the caffeine that it's in is because it's in such a pure form, it takes your body a longer time to break down that caffeine. So the effect that it has on the body is actually a lot more gentle and a lot more drawn out.
With so many varieties that affect our bodies in a positive way, it's clear this warm elixir is a good choice on any day. But how does it affect our culture? Whether it's the chai teas of India, the green teas of Japan and China, or the herbal blends of Africa, tea has been a popular choice for many cultures around the world. While traditionally used for medicine, these teas are an important part of many cultural traditions.
It's very important because it's been there for a long time, especially if you look at China. China's where it originated, like thousands of years ago. It went from China to Japan. I think that was the 17th century. Japan started to import and make their own teas. And if you look at the culture in Japan with the tea ceremonies and all that, it is a hugely important cultural thing. Then it got exported to India. It actually got smuggled to India. There were a couple of bushes that the English transported there so they could get at it more cheaply. And it's led to a whole different culture in China.
I remember back in the day when I was like around 7 years old, we traveled back to Sudan. So I'd wake up early in the morning and I'd wake up to the smell of tea. And I'd go outside in the yard and my grandma she has like a big pot of milk, and then she puts the milk on the stove and she starts like adding tea and different spices to it. Yeah.
Very first tea that was ever flavored naturally was the jasmine tea. Jasmine green tea originated in China, and the way that they created that tea and flavored that tea and blended that tea was actually during the specific time in the spring when the jasmine flowers are in bloom. What they do is they take this big heaping pile of tea leaves and they layer it with the jasmine blossoms. And jasmine blossoms, they bloom at midnight at night. And so they heap this pile up and they layer it with the jasmine blossoms, and during the night, the flowers, they open up. And during the processing stage of the tea plant, the tea is hydroscopic. So what that means, hydroscopic, is that it absorbs scent. It absorbs whatever is around it, the scent of that. So that's why it's really important for tea in itself, wherever it's being processed or blended, to be kind of secluded into the ingredients that are being blended into it.
So what I basically do is I get a pot, I fill it up with water, I put it in the stove, and I wait till it reaches a boiling point. So after that, I add in the tea, and then I bring cardamoms, cloves, and cinnamon sticks. It's either I put them whole or I grind them in like this traditional grinder. It's like a little bowl and then it has a hand that's like basically the crusher. I crush all the spices together, grind them, and then I add them to the tea for flavor.
The most important thing to me that I need to communicate and educate people on tea is not only the cultural and history behind tea, but also how diverse it is in flavor. And when people take the time to actually enjoy the tea leaf itself, from whatever country it comes from, they're going to taste something completely different. They're going to taste that community, that culture, that country, that origin, which is so beautiful.